The year is 2035. Imagine you're the supreme strategic commander of a rising superpower. You have just completed the 10th round of war simulations, and your quantum computing cluster has produced the perfect battle plan. Your space weapon platforms are locked on target, and your stealth fleet is standing by. Right now, a holographic map flashes before you, highlighting the last geopolitical puzzle on Earth that needs to be solved. Your AI advisor suggests, all conditions are ripe. Now is the time to conquer. Hold on. Before you start deploying your super army, let me tell you a brutal reality that remains applicable even in 2035. You are about to challenge not an ordinary country, but a super death trap woven together by the laws of physics, human madness, and geographical malice. The United States, this seemingly ordinary North American country, is actually a graveyard for conquerors. Why? Because there are some things that no technology can ever change. You think this will be the 2035 version of a blitzkrieg? Friend, you are about to step into the most sophisticated killing maze in human history. Welcome to the ultimate boss level of geopolitics. Barrier 1. The ocean. This fluid Maginot Line. Let's start with the most basic geometric nightmare. Before you lies 3,000 to 7,000 miles of open ocean. This isn't a distance issue. It's a perfect demonstration of mathematical hell. First, calculate this despair-inducing logistics equation. To truly control the United States, you need at least 2 million troops, and that is an extremely conservative estimate. The reality is more terrifying. The US currently has about 18.3 million living veterans, 78% of whom served during wartime. This means you aren't facing pacifist civilians, but millions of potential guerrillas with actual combat experience. Every invading soldier needs 40 pounds of supplies daily to maintain combat effectiveness. Let's do some simple math. 2 million people times 40 pounds times 30 days equals 24 million tons of supplies every single month. This needs to be transported across the entire Pacific Ocean for months on end. Even if you possess anti-gravity technology and instant teleportation devices, a logistical challenge of this scale is still unprecedented. Do you know how much effort the Normandy landings took? The Allies mobilized the resources of an entire empire just across the mere 100 miles of the English Channel. Now imagine the same operation, but with the distance increased by 60 times. This isn't a military operation. This is a flagrant provocation of the laws of physics. Even more deadly is that the US coastline is like a fortress designed with malice. The West Coast has only 4 true deep-water ports: San Francisco, Los Angeles, Seattle, and San Diego. The East Coast is protected by swamps, shoals, and complex bay systems. Your choices are pitifully few, while defenders only need to deploy autonomous defense systems at these choke points to turn your landing forces into moving targets. Think of D-Day, then multiply the difficulty by 100. That is the challenge you face. Trap number 2. When neighbors are also enemies. Fine, you say. I'll go by land. Of course, every failed conqueror has thought that. Attacking from the north? Welcome to a geologist's ultimate prank. The Canadian Shield isn't ordinary, difficult terrain. It is a super obstacle course meticulously crafted by nature over billions of years. It is a labyrinth of death, composed of millions of square miles of exposed Precambrian rock, countless lakes, and dense frozen forests. Imagine pushing armored divisions through the Swiss Alps, then multiply that difficulty by 100 and add extreme cold that could freeze a polar bear to death. North-south roads suitable for heavy military equipment, they basically don't exist. Because no sane person would choose to live there. Even if you somehow magically traverse this frozen purgatory, what greets you at the US northern border? The Great Lakes, more water obstacles, plus infrastructure specifically designed to filter and control all cross-border activity. Your supply lines would be stretched to the breaking point, while your tanks would sink deeper than your ambitions in the spring mud season. What about the southern route? Out of the 2,000 miles of the US-Mexico border, there are no more than 10 passageways truly suitable for the rapid advance of heavy troops. The rest is all desert that can turn a camel into jerky, or natural moats like the Rio Grande. And remember, once you cross the border, you aren't facing the American heartland. You are in Texas. Let me be clear. Texans consider armed resistance a family tradition. They not only own guns, but they also treat the Battle of the Alamo as an operating manual and have a genetic-level allergy to foreign authority. Defense Line 3, a masterclass in geography. The Appalachian Mountains stretch nearly 2,000 miles from Canada to Alabama, forming a natural barrier to east-west traffic. These aren't ordinary mountains. This is a living textbook of Earth's history. These mountains are 480 million years old, older than the dinosaurs, and after eons of weathering, they have become perfect military obstacles. The Appalachians have historically been a natural defensive barrier. The French used them to resist British expansion during the French and Indian War. For centuries, every army that attempted to quickly cross these mountains paid a painful price. Narrow passes, winding canyons, countless forks in the road. Every inch of land here is a perfect spot for an ambush. Then there are the Rocky Mountains in the west, stretching from Alaska all the way to Mexico. Imagine a natural wall 3,000 miles long, over 4,000 meters high, filled with passes where only a single vehicle can get through. A small squad of defenders with a few bombs could trap your entire armored division in a valley for weeks. The most evil part is that America's geography isn't just an obstacle, it's a weapon. The Mississippi River Basin is the aorta of the North American continent, but it is also a perfect dividing line. The Helena Bridge is the only crossing point within a 105-mile range. If critical infrastructure like this is destroyed, detours will add nearly 3 hours. Destroy a few of these choke points, and you've sliced a continent into isolated islands that cannot communicate with each other. The fourth madness: the armed lunatics behind 500 million guns. Now we arrive at the craziest and most effective part of the US defense system: the people themselves. American civilians own about 500 million firearms, which is more than the total population. But numbers are just the beginning. What's truly terrifying is the mindset behind these weapons. The core DNA of American culture is rebellion against authority. This is a civilization built on the foundation of telling the king to get lost. In Iraq and Afghanistan, the US military faced a relatively small number of insurgents, mostly equipped with old AK-47s and improvised explosive devices. Even so, those conflicts lasted 20 years, cost trillions of dollars, and eventually, the US military still withdrew. Now imagine facing this scenario. 5.3 million post-9/11 veterans, 48% of whom have service-connected disabilities, meaning they have actual combat experience. These people know how to make explosives, know how to organize guerrilla warfare, and know how to make life hell for an occupying force. Worse yet, these people know the terrain. They grew up here. They know every trail, every bridge, every hiding spot. You are the outsider, on a continent completely unfamiliar to you, surrounded by enemies who know every inch of the land. Every year, millions of Americans go hunting. They can headshot a moving white-tailed deer from 500 yards away. Now those skills will be used against your soldiers. This isn't guerrilla warfare. This is a nightmare version of total war. Americans will argue over a parking ticket from their own government. How do you think they will react to foreign occupiers? Trap number 5. Infrastructure as a weapon. This reveals the most insidious part of American defense philosophy. The infrastructure itself is a weapon. The U.S. transportation network looks well connected, but it is actually built on hundreds of critical nodes. The U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve has a capacity of 714 million barrels, currently holding about 411 million barrels, all located in underground salt caverns in Texas and Louisiana. But under the threat of invasion, these facilities would collapse faster than your diplomatic relations. The U.S. interstate highway system did indeed consider military defense needs, but not to help invaders, rather to turn into giant traps at critical moments. Every few miles, the highway has to cross bridges over canyons or go through narrow passes. Destroy key bridges on the Mississippi or Ohio rivers, and you cut off transcontinental traffic arteries for months. The U.S. military knows this because they helped design this system. In the event of an invasion, they would destroy every critical bridge, every tunnel, every refinery, and every pipeline control station before you arrive. You will find yourself needing to rebuild the entire continent's infrastructure while fighting. Imagine conducting a military occupation and a mega infrastructure project simultaneously, all while dealing with constant sabotage. This isn't conquest. This is the world's most expensive and bloody construction contract. The 6th chaos, the perfect flaw of the political system. Here is the most counterintuitive part. The chaos of the American political system is actually its most powerful defense mechanism. The U.S. is not a unified country. It is 50 semi-independent political entities wearing a federal trench coat pretending to be a country. What does this mean? You can't conquer it like a traditional nation by capturing the capital and seizing the supreme leader to declare victory. If you occupy Washington, D.C., the governor of Texas won't surrender. He will likely declare the independence of the Republic of Texas and mobilize the state guard to start his own war of resistance. California would do the same thing. Then there's Florida. They would organize an alligator militia. Montana ranchers would guard their land with rifles. Alaskans would vanish into the wilderness to wage guerrilla warfare. The U.S. has over 3,000 counties, each with its own law enforcement, its own government structure, and its own stubborn local identity. You aren't ultimately conquering one government, but thousands of small governments that are independent yet support each other. Every county sheriff sees themselves as the final guardian of the law. This decentralized resistance network is a nightmare for any centralized army. You cannot paralyze the whole system through a decapitation strike because there is no true head. It's like trying to kill a jellyfish. Cut off one tentacle and the others keep stinging. Even crazier, you will face non-violent resistance on a scale never seen before. Americans are masters of the art of malicious compliance. Whenever you try to issue occupation orders, the power grid will accidentally fail. The water system will have technical issues. Roads will be blocked due to construction accidents. You will find yourself spending more resources on maintaining basic order than on the entire military operation. The 7th ultimate barrier, mutually assured economic destruction. Finally, we arrive at the ultimate defense mechanism, the economic nuclear option. Although the dollar's share in global reserves has dropped to 56.92%, it is still the operating system of the global financial system. Attacking the U.S. isn't conquering a country. You are blowing up the engine room of the global economy. By 2035, the U.S. position in global digital infrastructure will only be more critical. Cloud computing, AI networks, quantum communication, financial settlement systems, satellite navigation. Most of the core nodes of these 21st century blood vessels and nervous systems are in the US. Destroying the US means you are destroying the digital ecosystem your own country relies on for survival. Even more fatal is the brain drain effect. Under the threat of invasion, America's smartest scientists, engineers, programmers, and financial experts won't wait to be captured. They will vanish to allied nations through long-prepared evacuation channels, taking critical technology, encryption keys, patent databases, and innovation capabilities with them. You will be conquering empty labs, bricked servers, and a soulless Silicon Valley. The value isn't in the buildings, but in those brains. And those brains will be gone without a trace before you arrive. The result? You spend astronomical resources to conquer a pile of ruins, while simultaneously destroying your own country's economic foundation. This isn't victory. This is a double suicide. The final judgment of geography. Let's face reality. Conquering the United States has never been a strategic problem, but a physics problem. You need to maintain an army of millions across thousands of miles of ocean, traverse the world's most challenging terrain, fight the most heavily armed and stubborn civilian population on Earth, while rebuilding infrastructure you destroyed yourself. Managing a political system deliberately designed to be impossible to control centrally, and doing all this without destroying the global economy, and thus not destroying your own country. This is not a military operation. This is an attempt to violate the second law of thermodynamics. This is a flagrant provocation of common sense. Even in 2035, even if you possess technology found only in science fiction, geography is still geography. Distance is still distance. Crazy armed civilians are still crazy armed civilians. And human nature is still human nature. The real secret of the United States. The real defense secret of the US isn't how powerful its army is, but how crazy its geography is, how stubborn its people are, and how chaotic its system is. It is a historical anomaly, a continent-sized island surrounded by natural moats, inhabited by anarchists armed to the teeth, controlling the world's digital neural network, and managing a political system deliberately designed to be impossible to control effectively. The Atlantic and Pacific are moats. The Rockies and Appalachians are walls. 500 million guns are arrows. 18.3 million veterans are professional guards. 3,000 county governments are decentralized command centers. And the American people? They are the guardians of this fortress who never sleep, are always angry, and are always ready to fight. Ultimate summary. So, for any future conqueror watching this analysis, don't do it. Not for moral reasons, not for international law, but because of mathematics, physics, and basic common sense. The US doesn't need the world's most powerful military to remain unconquerable. The perfect combination of geography, madness, and chaos is enough. This is the ultimate defense system created by the collaboration of nature and history. I want to hear your perspective. If you had to plan such an operation in 2035, how would you do it? What kind of future technology do you think could truly change this equation? Quantum teleportation? Anti-gravity? Or have we completely missed some obvious solution? Tell me your thoughts in the comments section. If you enjoyed this deep dive into a geopolitical nightmare, please hit that like button. It really helps the algorithm so more people can see this content. Subscribe to our channel. We break down complex issues that keep diplomats awake at night every week. Share this video with friends who like to think about what-if questions. Although we hope this situation never happens, understanding the reality of geopolitics is always valuable. Remember, on the chessboard of global politics, the wisest move is often not to play. Stay sane, Stay curious, and see you next time.